Oh. Um. Well, anyway. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 307. 307? I'm a fraud, guys. 307. Anyway. This episode was pretty good. There's a bit of action in this episode, actually, but I would say it is more of a development chapter, more of a story chapter. So, honestly, I kind of dug it a little bit. But yeah. So, we'll just go ahead and jump right into this now, shall we? So, episode starts out not with Doc or anything, not like, what's his name, Kuyo or anything. It actually starts out with John walking around Wellston, seemingly a day or few after his discussion with Arlo and Ison. But John hears a few students talking about Sarah, Remy, and Blyke's continued absence at school. And he also wonders about himself. But as he's hearing them discuss this, he begins to wonder about himself. He confirms to us that it's been a few weeks since the recovery device usage and they tried to steal it. And we know that it's only supposed to last about a week thanks to Serafina, but John confirms he still has access to half of his ability. He even wonders, Sarah said it's supposed to last this long, but I can still feel my aura, and I still have half of my ability level. And he wonders if something could be wrong with him. So, honestly, in story, it makes sense that John's not sure what's going on with him. I think this could potentially lead to John increasing his ability level on his own. We've seen it in moments when he was completely deactivated, or disabled, I mean. We've seen that he was able to re-get his ability for brief moments of power. His fight with Zeke, his moment against Liam. So I do think if given enough pressure, he could unlock more and more of his ability again. And I do think that we could see a level up from John soon as well. But that's that. We then cut to him at the self-defense classes, where some students want to start talking about applying their own abilities, but John refuses, saying that they need to practice the basics first and master them, and he's stated multiple times this class is a no-ability zone. We clearly know why. While the safe house has had some work and has improved some students, sometimes tensions do still rise. But, yeah. One student persists, however. Wyatt is his name. This is the first time, I'm pretty sure this is the first time we meet Wyatt. He seems to be a friend of Dylan or around the same level as Dylan. But he persists, telling John, hey, in the real world, no one's going to fight hand to hand. They use their abilities. But John thinks, I have to shut this kid up. I have to get this under control. I need to show these guys they don't know what they're talking about. So he asks who Wyatt thinks he's least likely to beat in the class. Wyatt obviously points out, you dude, you're the Shadow King. You're the strongest student. But John corrects him and says that he didn't mean himself. And then Wyatt says he thinks he's least likely to beat Sherry. Now, who's Sherry? Sherry is actually the ponytail girl with purplish, bluish. Why am I blinking? Yeah, she's got Zeke's hair, basically, hair color around there, like a purplish blue. But she is one of the bullies who joined the safe house, who wanted to try and get away and become a better person essentially. We've seen her a few times. She's got the ponytail, and John decides, okay, fine, I can make this work, and he takes everyone outside for a field trip. And he tells Wyatt and Sherry, you guys are going to have a quick match. It's friendly. Don't do anything drastic. This is just for demonstration purposes. Now, when the match begins, Sherry seems to have some sort of enhancement type ability as she moves fairly fast, and nothing really happens, but she just moves in for an attack. Wyatt has another beam type ability, which is blue like his hair. Sorry, I didn't mention Wyatt. Wyatt kind of has hair similar to Holden in both style and color. His hair though is a bit longer and a bit more wild than Holden's hair. Honestly, I think it'd be pretty cool if he was like Holden's little brother or something. That'd be funny. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Actually, no, sorry, I'm tripping. He's got like black hair, but it's more teal. Yeah, I'm tripping. Never mind. I'm talking out my ass, guys. Anyway, that doesn't matter. But so Sherry easily overtakes Wyatt. He is fairly weak. And Sherry just immediately punches him down, but she helps him get back up. So, Sherry's attitude has increased a little bit. Safe House is working, honestly. So, yeah. So she helps him back up. John then demonstrates the match again, and he offers some critiques to Wyatt as well. He basically says, you knew that she would avoid your attack, so why bother throwing them out? And he tells Wyatt, let me show you how it's done. So, before the match begins, he has access to Wyatt's ability, but John does calm himself down, reminding himself this is just an instructive fight. And honestly, I like that Uru isn't afraid to show John still struggling with his emotions, with his anger issues and everything. John's not past his trauma yet, and I do think soon, depending on the circumstance, we will see John snap again and lose control. And I mean like actually snap. Against Liam, he kind of lost control a little bit, but he was still able to get himself out of there. I do think it's very possible, though, that John will lose control in a more serious sense down the line. I think John may actually snap, may actually hurt someone else, someone innocent, soon. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying John's going to be irredeemable, but I do say, like I'm saying, Uru's not afraid to show John backpedal a little bit. Uru's not afraid to show John mess up. So I do think it's possible. I don't think that John's growth is going to stop and he's going to completely revert back again to Shadow King. But I do think it's possible we'll see it again, especially once he learns about his mom and everything. Anyway, during his match, though, Sherry actually uses the same move that Ison did back in his first fight against John, jumping up in the air and kind of like smashing down on the ground. John even asks himself, why does everyone use this move? Why does everyone think this is such a good idea? But as he dodges, she tries to retaliate with another punch. John catches her with the same parry that he's been telling everyone to practice with, but trips her to retaliate, as we see him briefly charge up his version of Wyatt's ability, but he immediately stops the display and tells everyone, that's it. This is why practice is so important. This is why you need to master the basics. And honestly, I do really like John taking the role of a teacher for others. You guys know that I've said for a long time, John would be great at teaching others how to use their abilities, how to elevate their abilities. But honestly, I like him starting out with the basics of actual fighting instead, because we have seen not a lot of people in UnOrdinary actually know how to fight. Compared to the amount of people that we've seen who actually do know how to fight, we've seen that some characters do over-rely on their ability. A huge example of that being Seraphina herself. She simply relied on her ability because it was very strong, and she even points out after her ability was awakened, she didn't really focus on the specifics of fighting. She has improved thanks to the help of John, but yeah, we have seen a lot of people just kind of use their ability and don't really know the fundamentals of fighting. So I really like that. John even points out, hey, once you know how to fight and then learn how to apply your ability to fighting, that's when you'll see improvement. So, yeah, that's great. So, after that, we then cut to the Bureau of Authority making an announcement. Waluigi bitches back and he announces Spectre as a terrorist organization, the very organization behind the missing high tier abductions recently. And honestly, they're not wrong. He's not wrong about that. Spectre is definitely doing that, and yeah. He's not wrong, unfortunately, but he mentions that that Spectre will be the Bureau's top priority, which of course the reporters around there find strange. Another terrorist organization. And they even ask about Ember's investigating, saying, you guys haven't really done anything about Ember. What's going on there? Like, you guys seem to be doing anything. Like, why should the public trust you? And to which the main guy provides really simple, nothing answers, saying like, hey, we know your concern. It's an ongoing investigation, blah, 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 blah. But he does say that the investigation is ongoing, and they can't reveal information without potentially alerting Ember to their efforts in their investigation. And honestly, if not for the fact that we know what we know about Ember and everything else, that'd be a fair reason. You clearly don't want to announce things and make the person you're after aware that you are looking into them. Clearly, this does not work for us because we know that Ember is another branch of the authorities. But that's not all. Because William is watching the update on TV, and in a moment of his anger, which honestly, this is kind of the first time we've really seen William angry like John, and I love it. He throws his remote at the TV, just shattering it, and just shattering, angry at their lies and their hypocrisy of everything. He knows they're lying, and he thinks of everything that's happened to him because of the authorities, especially pointing out that they took Jane, his wife, they broke John, his son, and they silenced him for writing UnOrdinary, his book, which its sole purpose originally, not to change society, not to do anything else, not to invoke heroism, superheroism. The sole purpose of UnOrdinary that William wanted it to do more than anything else was to help John in his darkest moments. And the authorities took that away from him. And he then says that he's not going to stand by anymore while as everything else is taken away. And he remembers Jane's words in the letter that she wrote to him, that he has a gift in his words and to never stop sharing them with the world. And then we get a quick time cut, probably to that night, as William spends the rest of the day, most likely, writing something and immediately just publishing it. Simply stating, it's done. And honestly, I have no idea what he could have wrote. Is it a sequel to UnOrdinary? Is it what he could remember from UnOrdinary like he gave to John? Is it a critique on the government and everything? Whatever it is, it seems like it's going to be a big deal. And knowing Uru, I don't think we're going to focus on William in today's episode. But I am scared for what's going to happen next to him. Because, yes, William may have a power with words, but he doesn't have the power to defend himself. And John's not there to save him, and John wouldn't have the power to help his dad either. I am hoping this will lead more into how far his and John's immunity from the government goes. We'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, we also get levels for Sherry and Wyatt. Sherry is a 2.9, a 2.9, and her ability is Vigor. Higher power. It has higher power and higher recovery. It's actually a bit surprising. And a little bit of speed to it as well. We clearly saw her do the dash when she initially charged at Wyatt. Wyatt has Charge Shot is what it's labeled, which has higher power and higher trick and a little bit of defense on top of that. Now, and Wyatt is a 2.4. Clearly, they are not, as strong as people like Blake, Ison, or even Zeke. So when I say higher power, I mean it's their highest stat. Definitely not, they're not crazy breaking past, barriers and everything. But yeah, overall, episode is pretty decent. All things considered, can't really complain about it too much. So, yeah. I would give this episode... I'd honestly give this episode around a 7.6. It is a pretty good episode, all things considered. It's not earth-shattering or anything. It's cool and a lot of cool things happen. And the ending does definitely make me curious about what's going to happen next. But I don't think we're going to focus on William next, honestly. But who knows? Maybe 3 more episodes? Maybe season 2 goes on further. We're just going to have to wait and see. But until then, guys, let me know what you all thought down below. And as always, see you, Space Cowboy.